Everybody. Guess who's back? Izzy Medina in the house. So, for those of you who haven't met Izzy yet, or who might be watching this on the replay, this is my good friend Izzy Medina, and we met last year at Sology Fest in Arkansas. And Izzy is the daughter of a man named Todd Medina, who started a Facebook page and then a network called Sology Network. And through that network, many people have found each other again. People that feel we have known each other in other lifetimes or know each other in other dimensions. And Izzy and I feel we have that connection. We met at Sology Fest, as I mentioned, last summer in Arkansas. And Izzy met some other people there that she developed some pretty strong connections to. So Cindy Fink is her good close friend, and Kate Lumley, who may be watching this now or later, and myself. And Izzy is quite an extraordinary being. I think she's what you would call an old soul. And even though she's only 22 years old, she has lived a lot of life. And in these past 10 months since we've become friends, I have watched her grow so much. She has figured out things and made peace with things and come to conclusions that many people never arrive at in a lifetime. And so we wear many hats together. We're, good friends, but we also kind of have an auntie niece thing going on, and maybe even like a mom daughter thing going on. So there's many flavors to our relationship. And because she's in Texas and I'm in Oregon, we don't get to visit in person, but we spent a lot of time on the phone, and we've learned a lot from each other. And so in watching Izzy navigate her life and now moving on to this next big step, it was in my heart to document this stage of her life because she's about to take one of the hugest leaps she's ever taken. And a while ago, I shared with her a quote. I don't remember who said it, but I think it's a beautiful quote. And it says, "Sometimes the only available transportation is a leap of faith." And yes, Delia, I am wearing the necklace you gifted me. So here's another thing about Sology. You make all these friends and sisters like Delia Flores, and they gift you these beautiful things. So thank you, Delia. I'm glad you're watching with us. Um, and so what I'd like to do, Izzy, is help. So I titled this video for people who watch on the replay. I titled it "Trusting Intuition." And so, what I'd like to do today is share with the audience a little bit about your life and how you've made peace with certain experiences and overcome trauma and healed and transformed things, and how that has led to this decision of you leaving your hometown of Houston, Texas, and moving to Phoenix on Wednesday. OMG, it's coming right around the bend. So thank you for your willingness to come on here today and to play. And I know that there'll be a lot of wisdom shared here today that people can glean from. And one of my prayers for anybody watching this is that this video will give you the courage to listen to your inner voice, even if it sounds crazy and even if you're having a little bit of a hard time trusting it, that this video helps you build your faith. You might be watching this at just the right time where you're about to springboard into a new direction in your life, but you're still having some self-doubt. And I hope that there's some golden nuggets and some nuggets of wisdom that can give you the courage to follow your dreams and listen to your intuition. So there's a lot more I want to unpack, and I'll help us keep track of it as we go. But maybe we can. Well, I think you should start where you want to start, but I think it's important to let the audience know that you've already lived so much life. You've gone through so much. You had a very interesting childhood with some serious bumps in the road that a lot of people haven't had to face at that young age, and then others have. Every single life is different, and we all come in with different um, challenges and strengths and gifts and things to overcome, and things that we kind of made a soul contract with ourselves to see how we could face these challenges. And I often feel that those challenges are, we put ourselves to the test so that we can come out on the other side victorious and then be a beacon of light for others. So I'll let you take the floor and we'll take it from there.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone that's watching this and going to watch this. I'm trying to think where to start. It's kind of ironic that these 14ths are like, so important in my life. My birthday is March 14th, and my lucky number is 14. My parents' anniversary was May 14th, which is the month before I'm leaving. So I will just, I guess I'll start. I know last time I was on the show, I was saying, I think the last time I was on the show was what, 4 or 5 months ago,
I don't
I
remember.
think. It was sometime this year, early this year, and I was saying about my experiences, what's my life been since, my dad's festival, which was one of the most amazing moments of my life. And I've not been the same in the most beautiful, magnificent ways, had a few dark clouds and stuff, but the sun came out. So about 10 months ago, which is ironic because this is when Miss Jolie and me became BFFs in September, which September 14th, 2022, I was with my friend, Kate Loomley, and she had dropped me off, and it was the first time I had seen somebody I've never met, and it was in my elevator, which is ironic. I guess my elevator in my apartments might be like one of those mirrors, like in what, that movie, Snow White? Just a portal, right? And it did freak me out. I was like, who is this? I made a video too, and I just made sure that I document it because I'm like, this this is definitely real. So I heard his name immediately too, which was his nickname because, like, my name's Isabel. I go by Izzy. So I guess I'll just say it. His name is Jesse. And what's ironic about Jesse is Julie's mother, her name is Jesse.
No.
Oh, no, no, no. Her brother's name is Jesse. I'm sorry. There's just so much.
Yeah.
Cindy's mom is Jesse. So there's like two Jessies. And J's are very powerful in my life. My mother's name was Jacqueline. She went by Jackie. And as the months go by, they kept getting stronger, even when I didn't want them to.
What is
You
getting
know,
stronger? The messages from Jesse?
just the visions of seeing him. So I feel like in the beginning of this journey, he didn't really know who I was. I think he felt somebody, but didn't know until about 3 months ago. So they just kept getting stronger and stronger. And I would try to block it out, and I would tell myself, oh, no, this is just somebody, right? No. I've had so much confirmation from people, like people that I don't even know, and a lot of people would tell me that I represent the Phoenix, which is ironic because I haven't been to Arizona in 10 years. I've only been there once when I was visiting my dad's brother named Ty, who I love very much, with my little sister and niece. And it was very strange when I first landed. I remember I landed on the plane and I was like, this is my home. So to fast forward everything in my life, I have been spiritually awake and very in tune with all my powers since I came out my mother. So with that being said, I came to the conclusion recently that I've been pushing ancestral cycles and family lineage things since I was an infant. I just realized this, right?
Family lineage stuff.
I don't know how I
Yeah.
know.
Well,
I'm
I'm
like
just
my
letting
dad.
it's for the audience so they can know.
No, yeah, yeah. And
Let's give people a little context before you go on. So Jesse is somebody who you are connected to. And you and Jesse have never seen each other in person. You've never talked on the phone. You've never met before in this lifetime. So that's context. So he's coming to you through intuition, through your psychic ability. You guys have been communicating, and at first you were more aware of his presence than he was of yours. But he's become more aware of your presence in the past couple of months, especially the past month. And then the other thing that we should mention, I think, too, Izzy, that's important is so there's some other people like Inanna, who was at Soology Fest, and Jessica Black, who is also, in the Soology family. And and I feel like there's a couple other people. Anyways, what I want to share with the audience is that uh, you've had come from also through Kevin, my mentor, who you had a meeting with. So there's at least three people I can think of right off the top of my head who have given you confirmation on all of this.
yeah,
Not that you doubted yourself in the first place, but they're saying, "Hey, and even if we are psychic and intuitive, even mediums themselves, even psychics and intuitives themselves, sometimes occasionally go to someone else just to get clarity, just to like give a little boost to their faith or make sure that they're seeing clearly. And you've gotten all of that along the way. So I just wanted to give people some of the backstory.
oh, no, for sure. I mean, it is. I mean, what's been going on with me for 10 months is probably the most crazy, bizarre, unbelievable experience. And I mean, even what I'm about to do is probably one of the most bizarre things I've done, but I know I'm supposed to do it, right? It doesn't make sense. And Anana told me this a few days ago that the spiritual journey doesn't make sense, right? There's no, it's just, that's just not how it works because, you know, this is something that I never thought I would do, which is leaving my hometown. I'm born and raised here. I've moved, I've lived in Florida before, in Atlanta before, and I always came back. But this feeling is way different, on a living perspective. Visiting, is different, but living, yeah. Um, so about, let me see. So about in I've been planning on moving to Arizona even before he came to my mind, my spirit, and everything. I've always been drawn to there. So that's what I was also saying is when I was on the plane with my sister, I was like, in my head, I was like, this is my home. When we get off the plane, immediately I'm so drawn to here. And I didn't know why. So
You're talking
during
about
this
being drawn to Arizona. When you say here,
Mhm.
you mean Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona. So I think at this time, yeah, I was 12. So when I was there, I felt a wolf presence, like a spirit wolf, and it was weird. It was somebody that I didn't know. I didn't understand. So then when I come back home for the next year, I remember I was really fascinated of twin flames. And the whole twin flame is very elaborated, but the things I didn't really go by on all the things I was reading. I was going on by a lot of things I was feeling, though I didn't understand. And what I didn't understand was I didn't know who this was. But I just always felt this very wolf energy, like spirit, which is strange because my dad, that's something that can describe him, is like a wolf, like a lonely wolf, like no pack, very strong, very wise spirit. And I remember when I was 13, I would feel somebody, and I knew they weren't in Houston. I knew they were in Texas. I didn't know where they were. But to fast forward, when I was in Arizona, when I was 12, a year before I was 13, I felt like somebody was there. I just didn't know. It was too much to comprehend. I also was a kid, so it's like I can't do nothing. And so, about a few months ago, I got the name Joseph, which is ironic because my mother's name started with the J, Jacqueline, Jackie. And, all the prophets are very important to my father, but if there was just maybe like the top two or something that are very, very, very significant to him, it's Joseph. And I just remember I was hanging with my dad, and we were listening to music and stuff, and I cherish every moment I have with him because it's incredible. And he was like, he was like, so tell me more about this. And I was like, Dad, I don't know why, but I've been hearing Joseph. And he looked at me and he was like, I know you didn't just say that. And I was like, I'm being serious. And my story of what's going on with me is like very similar to Morgan and my dad, but they know each other and stuff, and the terms were a little bit more difficult financially and stuff like that. But the risk, I read what Morgan posted. It was years back of how terrified she was, but she knew it was the answer. It was, destiny.
So let's fill the audience in a little bit. So Morgan, who Izzy is talking about, is the wife of Todd, and Todd started Sology on his own, and then when Morgan came into the picture, Morgan and Todd became Sology. The other thing I want to remind you of is that my brother's name is Jesse Joseph, and and and, and the other thing I want to back up and say, you were talking about Inanna and how she told you the spiritual path doesn't often make sense. So after many times of ignoring my intuition and not trusting it or going against it, and I finally got the lesson and I never ignore it anymore. I got the piece of wisdom that if you hear a voice and it doesn't make sense or it sounds crazy and it's telling you to do something, listen, do it. Because the intellect only really operates in linear time, and the intuition and psychic ability operates outside of space and time, right? And so you get these intuitive messages, but it doesn't make sense to the intellect. So the intellect is not always keen to follow it. And then you get in trouble, right? So it's like, yeah, if you hear a voice and you know it's your intuition, even if it sounds crazy and the intellect isn't on board because it can't make logical sense of it, follow it anyway, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's for sure. I'm literally going 3 days, and I have nothing there that's like, no job. no place, no apartment. And I'm okay with all of it because I know like the outcome. So this Sunday, this past 2 weeks, I have been pushing major ancestral um, cycles, and I don't know if it's curses, codes. I think it's all mixture of them, to be honest with you. I've been feeling things in my body that I have not felt. I mean, last night we were on the phone and Julie saw this. There's things going on in my throat chakra right here. Um, and Anana also confirmed to me that she was like, a lot of this is getting you re-releasing, because I can only imagine if I would have gone to Arizona, like, did plan to go last December, but it didn't work out. It probably would have not been good for me, like my body and stuff like that, because I wasn't ready. I had to release a lot. I had to heal. I had to break some family cycles with myself, with other things that are like generation, ancestral stuff, you know. So,
Can
um,
I speak to that a minute?
yeah,
So here you are. You're about to go to Phoenix. You have no apartment. You have no job. You've never met Jesse. It's not like you just have his phone number and you can call him up, right?
yeah,
But there were a whole slew of things that led you up till now, right? So one of the things that happened is that after Thology Fest, your dad, after a long time away, I mean, your dad had been, you know, many places and would come to Houston for a time, but just a short time and then leave. So he has been in Houston for quite a while now. And so that has allowed you and him to spend more time together as father and daughter and to work out some of your ancestral stuff because you carry some of the same ancestral stuff and to work out some of the stuff between you guys just personally. And then you have a younger sibling that also lives in Houston. And so you and your dad and she have also been able to work out stuff. So you're working out stuff. You've been working out stuff and healing stuff and transforming things on the physical plane with your family. Um, and then you've also been doing it in the astral planes with your ancestors, and then doing work with your own self and your own inner work, right? And meanwhile, your life has kind of exploded. It's like Houston is kicking you out of the nest. Many of your longtime friendships have totally dissolved. Work has not been easy to come by. You were in a different career that you totally changed, that you said, my spirit can no longer support this career, and you left that career. And then you did a temporary thing that wasn't bringing you any joy. You were just doing it for the money. And so, in other words, there's a million moving parts to this, and you've had to reconcile and come to terms with all of these. And another thing is, you've had some patterns in your life, and you kept dipping your toes back in those patterns and getting burned every time. So you're going, oh, nope, can't do that anymore. Can't act like that. Can't hang with these kind of people. Can't do that. And meanwhile, your physical body is going through all these changes. So your life in the physical plane is changing. Your life on the astral and spiritual planes is changing. Your very real life in Houston has just been falling apart at the seams, and that's part of the signs that you got that said, "Hey, we're kicking you out of the nest. You got to go," right? And then
yeah,
you've also got some signs from your mom too. Did you want to share what those were?
yeah. So, it's that's crazy. You read my mind because I was gonna bring her up. So, something too that I will say before this is my mother's been gone for 11 years, and I'm 22 years old, and I can say for the last maybe month or two, I have fully, I've grieved over my mother, right? Grief and acceptance are just two different things. I've accepted my mom's death fully. I really have. I've understood My mom has been visiting me, I think, the last few months more than ever, and really like deep signs, right? So one of them was, it was April 14th. The 14th don't play, I'm telling you. And I had a really bad day. I was really upset about a lot of stuff, and there was somebody laying on the bed. And I kept pushing the bed, and I'm like, somebody's here. So automatically, I'm like, it's my mom. And so later that day, I had about maybe $100 on the counter, and they were all straight, and I'm facing like my back's, and I just, I was crying. I was not okay. And I look to the back of me, and my mom was funny and very creative. She had a very good sense of humor. So this is definitely something like her. And she took one of the dollar bills, which I do have it still, and I'm going to keep it. And this $20 bill has 92 on it, which equals 9 and 2. And if you add that, it's 11, which is also my life path number. She's been gone 11 years, and that was her lucky number. And it was like this. So it was in a triangle, an upside down triangle, and it was an A.
For
It was a capital
Arizona,
Arizona.
right?
And I'm just like, how many more signs? And then, we fast forward a month before April. I got on video with Julie's mentor, Kevin Snow, who's an amazing person. And I talked to him one time, and it was very powerful what he told me. And he confirmed a lot of things about Jesse. I knew Jesse was possibly my flame, but Kevin, he gave me confirmation on that. And it was strange because I was like, to Kevin, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna meet him within a week, and I won't forget his face. He was like, no, it's going to be immediately.
You're talking about a week of arriving in Arizona. And
To
Kevin said,
meet
no, it's going to
Jessica
be immediate.
immediately. So then Jessica Black, she just came to Houston. I love this lady. She's probably watching. I love her. She's amazing. It's crazy because this is so incredible what Sology has done. It's brought in so many people together that haven't even spoke, haven't even met, that are all connected, right? Right. So I remember I was at home, and I was like, Jessica Black. For some reason, I've been so drawn to her. We've never texted, we've never spoke. She'll leave me like really lovely messages on my Facebook, on my like posts and stuff. And something was like, you have to meet her, right? So I called my dad, and he didn't answer. He's like, I'm busy. I'm like, no, I know why you're busy. Answer the phone. I'm like, where are you? So he texted me where he was. He sent me an Uber. I meet with her and Kate. And me and Jessica, we just stick like glue.
So
I
you
mean, we
knew
love.
that your dad was with Jessica, even though he didn't tell you?
Yeah. Me and my dad have a telepathic connection.
Yeah.
A lot of people have witnessed that.
So
Yeah.
and Kate was there too, right? Kate Lumley was there, Jessica Black was there, your dad was there. And then what did Kate tell you about Jesse?
So me and Kate, like that
No, what
time.
did Jessica tell you about
Oh, about
Jesse
Jessica. Okay.
that day that you met her in Houston?
So we meet, and it was funny. She read me like a book. I mean, there was nothing to hide. I just remember I was just drinking my drink, not saying anything, and my dad's looking at me, and he's like, I was like, whoa. It was like all ETs and stuff like that. Oh, and it's also funny this night too. My dad's cigarettes went missing because me and Jessica were showing each other stuff about Pleiadians, which we'll get to that in a second. So Jessica, I began to tell her about what's been going on with me for the past, this was 9 months because now it's 10 months. And she looks at me and she's like, oh my God, I see him. And she looks at my dad and she's like, you're going to have a son-in-law soon. And she was like, you know what's ironic is before she got here to Houston, she was reading a book about a guy named Jesse.
So yeah, and she told you some other stuff too.
Um, she also told me that I'd meet him very soon.
Yeah. And Inanna said the same thing.
Anana said too. Anana literally told me basically all confirmation. Because, like I said, you know, people, like you just said, people, mediums, people that are very intuitive, that are in tune with their gifts, it's okay to just go get some little bit of, confirmation, some clarity, some, spiritual help, guidance, just something to make sure you're on the right path, right? And Anana, the first thing she said to me was like, oh, he's here. He's here. She's like, Izzy, Spirit is telling me that you know everything. There's nothing you don't know about this. And she just told me, don't worry about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel the same way. I mean, look, I've been working, having my own roof over my head since I was 17. I'm 22. So that's 5 years of my life. So, not saying it was all easy, because I mean, there were times where I had nowhere to go and I was sleeping outside for a few years, sleeping on the bus. I've had it hard, but it was a part of the journey, though. And that's something I also recognize that me and my father, even though we're like, father and daughter, we both kind of went through similar spiritual journeys. It was kind of strange. So, that being said, Kevin told me something too that I'll bring up. And a week before I talked to Kevin, I had a premonition that in a few years I was going to have twins. And what's ironic is I always used to say, I remember people would say to me, be careful what you say you wouldn't do, right? Or what you can't do. That's what you can't do. I always would tell people, like, even at a young age, I'd be like, I could never have twins. I could never do this, blah, blah, blah. Well, then, I got too much confirmation. Kevin was like too identical. And then about a month later, I haven't talked about this, so I'm excited to talk about this. I had a visit from the Pleiadians. And I also had a visit from our good friend. I didn't know him, Franco. He came to me. Who said that?
Susan, I didn't mean to put it up. Don't get distracted by it. Keep talking about Franco. Just keep talking about Franco.
Well, whoever said that, I love you. So basically, after my mother came to me, April 14th. The day later, I got a visit, and I won't get into too much detail about this, but I did experiment in some plant medicine, and what ended up happening was I live in apartments that are 4 floors. There is a garage that is 5 floors that's above me, right? So when I did the plant medicine...
No.
I won't read it yet, it's all right.
Sorry. I'm trying to get rid of it so it doesn't distract us, but it won't go away. So anyway, keep going. Sorry.
So, it's okay. So basically, did some plant medicine, and I started feeling this pressure on my chest. And I was called from spirit to do it. They were like, you need to do this. I was very nervous too. I was like, okay. So something was pulling me to the garage on the top floor, right? It is approximately probably like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at nighttime. And I go up, and it wasn't even 20 minutes. I started seeing spaceships, and I'm like, am I seeing this right? So I call my good friend here, Julie. and she was my witness. And I just, I have this all on video too. It's so funny.
Yep, I saw it with my own eyes.
And I was like, Julie, there's like six of them. They're all surrounding me and stuff. And Julie was like, well, ask, you know, talk to them. So all I heard was, we come in peace, we come in peace. And I kept hearing, I am one, I am whole. But at first, before all of that, I didn't know there was Pleiadian things going on, but I heard that in my head. And Julie was like, well, don't you know there's like some Pleiadian stuff going on right now everywhere around the world? I was like, no, I didn't. I didn't know. So me and Julie stayed on the phone for a little bit, and then I got off the phone because my phone died, but I recorded a lot of this stuff. And so basically what happened was, I opened a portal, and when I opened a portal, there was a huge mothership above me. Like, there was no way I could take a picture of this. People would not see it. I'd have to have like a huge phone or some device that could just take the whole picture, right? Because I couldn't do it with mine. And so I go back in my house, and I swear there was a helicopter hovering over my house. And where I live, I've had three witnesses, people that used to live here, that were like, yo, these towers were not here. There's seven total, which 2023 equals seven. And there's something about seven with the Pleiadians. I'm not really sure, like, maybe you know that. I don't
Yeah,
really know, but I know.
so the Pleiades, people often think of that it's seven stars, and actually it's many, many, many stars that make up the Pleiades. But there's seven main ones that we see in the sky, and
Mm-hmm.
they're known as the seven Pleiadian sisters. So seven is definitely a number connected with the
Right.
Pleiadians. And there you go. This happens all the time. Izzy tells me stuff on the phone or whatever, and she's just telling me something, and um there's already confirmation about it. She just doesn't know. Like, this was a perfect example right now, how she says she knows that seven is connected to the Pleiadians, but she doesn't know how she knows. That's the thing. That's the difference between, the psychic and intuitive mind and the logical intellect, right? So this is a perfect living example that you just gave.
So, I took a lot of footage on my phone, and what ended up happening was, the mothership hacked seven towers across, like, way far from my apartment, but you can see it on my balcony. And there was like pink lightning, there was pink, and these helicopters couldn't come in the vicinity of it. Like, they could not do it. And I go back in my apartment, and Franco comes and visits me. And he visits me, and I see his blue aura of light, and he was basically telling me that the new human language is going to be telepathy. And these towers are here to help people that are not like me and you. Not to say we're not any, more or less, but people that just, they need that to fully come together, wake up and stuff like that. Is basically, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like a lot of things that we know, we just can't explain it. We just know, we just feel them, right?
Like
So,
like beacons of light, kind of, huh?
yeah. So Franco comes in, and he tells me, because he visited me for 2 weeks straight and then he left. And apparently he's been doing that with a lot of people from Sology, right? Because I talked to his wife, Kimberly, lovely lady, the next day. And he told me that night, he said, you're going to have two Pleiadian twins with one soul. Well, what's ironic about it is, me and Jolie, I don't know, did you tell me this before? I think you told me this after, right? About your Pleiadian twin, right?
Yeah.
You told me
Yeah.
after, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was very strange to me. And then also was Franco, for the last 2 weeks after that um, happened, he was doing something in my dreams. Like, I was going somewhere and doing a lot of work up there. And so he every night I would go to sleep for 2 weeks straight, he would be right there. And one thing about me, if nobody knows, it's very hard for me to sleep with the lights off. Why? Is because I see a lot. And it's not like bad stuff, it's just kind of really overwhelming. Like I can just see too much stuff. And one thing Franco was telling me was one day I have to, like, let that completely go, which I will, but not right now.
Like
But
sleeping with the lights off.
yeah, but he said that I was here to the Ple because Franco, he is a Pleiadian. He is a Pleiadian. He's very connected. He was also telling me that he had to go because he had to help from the other side
Which I
in
think a
order.
lot of us knew when he left. It's like, oh, he can be he can have a greater effect in the non-physical than he can in the physical, and that's why he chose to go. I think a lot of us felt that.
Right, right. And so the Pleiades and him told me too that I would help people understand them, you know? And, you know, for nobody, I'm pretty sure everyone that's watching this is very clear of what's happening here in the world and what's going to be happening, and it keeps getting stronger. There's people that don't even are so connected to spirit and other things like us that are starting to be more telepathic and knowing things. I mean, it's what's going on has never happened before, you know? So that's why it's interesting that this year a lot of, if you will, flames are reuniting because it's not just me, you know? I won't mention somebody else because of, privacy things and stuff, but somebody that's important in my life, very important in my life, means a lot to me. I've seen her flame, and like one thing I can say about myself is my whole family's always known this about me. I've always been very different. I've always known things and I don't know how. Like I knew actually talking to Julie, one thing about Julie, it's so incredible, is she activates you things you don't even know. And you just remember. You're like, oh wait, that happened? Because one time we were on the phone, right? And I was like, we are talking about my mom, and I was like, you know what, Julie? I actually remember the exact moment. It was like 5, 6 a.m. I remember my mom passed away. Because I had a premonition a month before she passed. And she caught me in the room and I was crying. And she was like, why are you crying? I was like, because I think dad's going to pass away. But it wasn't. It was her. So that's why all these bizarre, like how the story's going, like for me, like in the next 3 days, the plan, it's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. But I know it's it's literally destiny.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way.
You're getting off the plane. You'll go to the room that you have rented, right? As we've said in the beginning, you don't have a job, you don't have an apartment, right? You don't have a way of getting hold of Jesse, and you're just going to, because you have so much trust and faith now, and because you have good abilities, then you'll just listen to spirit and guidance and your intuition to lead you. Is that correct? And that's how
Oh,
your dad has been rolling for years. Your dad often shows up somewhere with, like, when he and Morgan left Kauai, they had not much money to their name. They didn't have a vehicle. They didn't have a place to stay. They didn't have anything. But they heard the message, you got to leave Kauai and go back to the mainland now. And they listened. And because I really think that it is a co-creation between spirit and us. So when we listen to our higher self, when we listen to our heart, our intuition, and we listen to spirit, then spirit's like, okay, they're listening, they're following the clues. Now I'll provide them with the place to stay, or the meal, or the vehicle, or the whatever it is, because as soon as they got here, there was a woman, I think in Florida, that provided them with a with an RV to travel around in for a while, uh, and then
Oh
eventually,
yeah, I saw him. That was the last time I saw him before September of last year, which is interesting. My Not to cut you off,
no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, this is great. I didn't know this. Go ahead.
So the last time I saw my dad before September, because as y'all know, he wasn't able to go to Sology Fest, which was all right, because the message was still prevailed there. Everybody came together and it was incredible. And I saw my dad actually, if I think about it, him and Morgan's anniversary is either September 3rd, 4th, or 5th. It's like around there. And I saw him either one of those days.
Mhm,
So it was around that time.
mhm.
I hadn't seen him in 2 years. The last time I saw him was he dropped me off at the airport in Florida in 2020, and I went to visit my sister, and she had just had my nephew, and he dropped me off, and he had an RV.
Yeah, yep, yep.
We went to get some ice cream. It was pretty cool.
That's so. I want to give a shout out to a few people in the audience before we go further because I just really appreciate everybody's support. So, um, Make a Pathway Louise that you made friends with earlier today is on here. Delia, thank you so much. Ernestine Day, um,
A
Susan Bornstein, my friend, Angie Moon, Moira, do you remember her, the Italian woman, the cacao? She did the cacao ceremony at Sology. She comments on your posts a lot. And I
Oh yes, 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 yes,
yeah,
yes.
with the
I know who
blonde
she.
hair, beautiful woman. Yeah, she's friends with Jessica too. Um,
Mm,
so Susan and Janet Herman is on here, and Jana, she's gonna watch the replay. Susan says this,
Donna.
and I have to tell you, Susan's been making a lot of interesting comments, but this one, she says, um, she says the Palladians are the star people of the Arizona desert.
So what's interesting is I've had somebody had a dream about me and said Izzy, and he actually, it was weird. We used to be really good friends. His name is irrelevant, but I was about to say his name. I was like, wait, no, his name's irrelevant. So we used to be very good friends for a really long time, and he's very psychic. And one day he had a dream, and he told me he was the first person that told me I'd have twins, and this was in January of this year. He said, Izzy, I had a dream about you, and you were the phoenix. Like you were in the desert, and you were the mother of holding everything. There's another lady that was at Soulgy Fest. Her name's Casey, and she's a redhead. She was the one with the long red hair, very hippie style. And she messaged me 3 weeks ago and sent
Yeah,
me a song called Phoenix. I didn't even tell her I was going to go to Arizona. And that's why I said, Anana said, Izzy,
you know
like,
everything.
there's literally, oh yeah, there's a little orb right next to you right now. She's like, Izzy, you know everything you're supposed to do, even if it doesn't make sense, right?
Mhm.
So, I have the most least amount of stuff I've ever had in my life, which is fine. I'm glad because that would have been pure something
No, you have
else
to
if I.
follow light. Yeah, you couldn't have moved this quickly if you had all that stuff. Let's
Uh-uh.
talk a little bit about so you everybody who's a human, right? We at some point, many points throughout our life, many points throughout our day even, we are always doing this dance with trust and faith. Trust is more connected to the first chakra, and faith more connected to the second chakra. And that's interesting because trust is kind of the foundation of faith. But the more experience you have that build your trust, the more faith you have. And the more experiences you have that build your faith, the more faith you have, right? So there there is somebody very close to you. I'm not going to mention their name because I don't want them to feel called out, but you'll know who I'm talking about. That that told you like I don't think this Arizona thing is such a hot idea, right? And and but the thing is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like, how can I say? Your faith and trust in yourself and your spirit guides and your mom and and all the guides with different names and costumes and whatever, you trust
Yeah.
them. And so you you are not listening to anyone or anything, no matter how close they are to you, that's telling you otherwise, because your mind is made up and you have your trust in your faith. And you know, that really, um yeah, it really speaks to your character and it speaks to your level of trust and faith. And I'm really proud of you for not listening to that person, even though I love them much. And I get why they would say that, but it's
Yeah.
also kinda, I was telling you the other day, it's actually cool. It's actually a good thing that that person said that, because these are like little tests of faith, you know? It's like you got spirit saying, you gotta go," and then you have somebody in a physical body saying, "I don't think you should do this," and then you're like, "Nope, I'm gonna go with what I know."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's 3 more days, man, until I
yeah.
mean, it's I told my dad this one time, he laughed at me. It's interesting that me and my little sister, like, we've had TVs and we don't watch them, or she doesn't own one. I don't own one. I've had 3 TVs in my house before, never watched it.
Me neither.
And I was talking, you too,
I've
yeah. And I was
never owned
talking to
a
my dad.
TV.
He never owned a TV. Yeah. So this is what I told my dad. I was like, yeah, I don't really watch TV because I don't really watch TV or movies because I like to make my own.
Like to make your own shows and your own programs, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing, oh, okay, so I don't want Susan to feel like I'm ignoring her. Let's see. She put a message up, and then I want to tell you something about a way that I've noticed that you've grown that I think is really important. Um, so Susan Bornstein, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. She says, "My soldier angels tell me that I am their child, the promise they died for in the Second World War. When I met Izzy, I had that same feeling. You are my child, the promise I waited for all this lifetime." And then she found it interesting because, you know, somehow it worked out that I clicked on the comment, not meaning to, well, trying to respond, but then instead it ended up on the screen and it wouldn't go away. And there's a reason it wouldn't go away, because I was supposed to come back to it and address it. So I wanted to do that, for you, for her, for the angels, for whoever's, you know, putting this message forth. So thank you, Susan, for that. Um, I want to tell you that, you know, there's plenty of things on here that I can't necessarily share, but just even in the 10 months that I've known you, it's amazing how much you've grown and how much you've grappled with and come out on the other side, and like, so quickly, you know? And I'm telling you, you've learned lessons, you've transformed things that it's not necessary to compare, but I speak it to it because in the arc of my life, whether I'm looking at myself or other people, there's certain things that people never make peace with in their whole life that you've already made peace with at this young age of 22, right? I mean, you're an old soul, but biologically, let's face it, 22 years is not, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's not like
Not
you're
old,
80 or
yeah.
something. And and one of those things, uh is that you, okay, so you have all these water signs, right? And admittedly, you're a very emotional person. Nothing wrong with that. You're built like that, right? And when you arrived at the place that, um, yeah, and Ernestine Day concurs. She says, "Izzy sure has grown and expanded big time. So proud of you."
Haha,
So,
Ernestine. Her.
so you arrived at a place where you were like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to do this. And I need all my family to do it with me at the same time. And that was that you were ready to make peace with your past and peace with the past that you and your sister had with your dad and peace with your mother's death and just like you wanted to wrap it up in a package, set it on the table, have everyone open it together, pull out the gift, and just like be done with it and have it cleaned, cleared, healed, transformed, like as a team, right? And you tried many times and it wasn't happening. And for a reason, right? Because the universe and spirit have their own ways and individual souls have their own ways. But it frustrated the fuck out of you a few times, right? You'd just be like, I'm just so done with these people. Like, I've tried and tried and tried. And I'm just never going to talk to them again. It's over. I always try to make this happen and it doesn't happen and just forget about it. I'm just going to go do my life on my own like I always have. And, right? Like you were fired up. But last night or the night before, I heard you, and I can't quote you word for word, but um, you were saying that basically you get it now. You get why the thing that you tried to make happen didn't happen because people have to do things in their own way, on their own terms, in their own time. And you've done it for yourself. And it's up for whoever else wants to do that in their terms, in their way, in their own time, right? Honey, some people, it takes lifetimes to learn this, you know? And you got that one down. And that allows them so much more space and you so much more space and so much more space within the relationship. And dang, I'm so proud of you for nailing that one on the head.
Mhm. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that everybody knows out of the kids, Izzy's always been the most emotional one, the more sensitive. I've always been like that, but no, yeah, for sure. Like I said, these last 2 months have felt like 20 years. It's no joke. I mean, Julie can witness it. It was like a 2 weeks, you know, and it felt like a whole 10 years, because I did not, like I said from the other show, I did not come out the mountain the same. I did
You
not.
didn't come back from Zoology Fest the same, yeah. Mulberry Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have what I've observed about you is whether it's your dad or your sister or a friend or, you're really willing to listen and reflect and glean with your own wisdom. And when I say listen, I don't mean like, oh, I listened and then I took that on as my own belief and then I started doing this. No, I mean listen, like be open and receptive. And what you do is you sift through the information and you find what resonates with you, Izzy Medina, and you put that in your toolbox or in a little basket in your heart or somewhere for safekeeping. Um, and then you just take what doesn't connect to Izzy and you just give it back to source. And you don't do what's called throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Because let's say somebody's telling you something and you could say, nah, it just doesn't even relate, right? You're willing to sit and play with the idea and look at what's there and pick out the gifts and then put this rest away instead of just throwing the whole pile out and missing out on a bunch of treasure. And that takes a certain amount of maturity and wisdom. And I mean, we know you're an old soul, but um still I think you should get kudos for that.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, the last 10 months have been it was very hard at first, I mean, I think I mentioned, on the last show with you was after Solo G Fest, I went through a panic attack for a week straight. 8 days, actually, not, it was 8 days, and it was so scary. It was probably some of the scariest shit I've ever had with my body. And it's because I was releasing a lot of demonic things from me, which, and, anyways, is, like I said, you know, when there's darkness first, it equals out to the same light. And I feel like even a few weeks ago, I was not really okay. I mean, I wasn't. It was kind of weird, like waves. Like it would be cloudy, it would be dark, then the rainbow comes, the sun, and the clouds come. It's like it's a whole cycle of shit over and over again. But now, for the first time in my life, as a young woman, 22 years old, I can say I've overcame everything in my life as of right now. And I have a lot of witnesses. Julie is one of them because she knows.
Yeah. And I thought it would be not only fun but important to document this, right? Because what I'd like to do in the future, and you know, you agreed to it, and hopefully you'll agree again in the future,
Oh, yeah.
is that as the journey goes on, as you get settled into your life in Arizona and you meet Jesse, and the things come together that you saw coming together, that we can kind of follow you on this journey, because you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
this video might help a lot of people think about some things. But then if you come on here with Jesse and you come on here and you're doing some of the things that, like, hey, Julie, remember when I said I was going to do this? And remember when I said I was going to do this? And remember I said this was going to happen? And then we get you on here, and then it's just like verification. We're planting a seed of faith, right? And trust in the universe, in source, in spirit, in our higher self, in our own faith and intuition, to really follow that. Because, well, not because anything, but I think that one really important thing is that this is going to sound off point, but I'll bring it back around pretty quick. When we all went through the pandemic together globally as a human family, you remember lots of people lost their sense of smell and their sense of taste, right?
I heard you talk about this with Kevin on the show the other day.
Oh, yeah. The sense of smell is related to the first chakra, and the sense of taste is related to the second chakra. And I thought about how we were so gaslit by the media and by the pharmaceutical companies and by the government, you know, that it can really, like, shake your trust and faith, right? Because it's like, oh, this is a life or death situation. And, you know, people lost family and people lost friends, and not only to death, but over just ideology, you know? And I think unless you already had, at that point, unless you already had unshakable faith, a really good intuition, that faith and intuition might have taken a little hit, right? Or you might have lost some trust in yourself, because maybe you did something to or with your body that you wouldn't have normally done, but you were so in a pressure cooker that you did it, and then maybe later you regretted it. I know of these stories, you know. And so what I'm saying is I feel that during that era, those couple years, there was so our faith globally and our trust took such a hit that anything that we can add back to the quantum field of, you know, trust and faith and belief in ourselves and our intuition is good. And this is one such thing, what we're doing right here.
Yeah, like as you're talking, I feel this on my heart chakra right here. I'm telling you, I've been going through things in my body since Zoology Fest, but the last 2 weeks, I've been going through some major things. I mean, like I said, me and you were on the phone last night. You were like, because I was
I
like,
know. It was almost like it wasn't like you were choking, but it was definitely like there was a blockage there. And I could tell it was very uncomfortable. And I was like, wow. But, you know, yeah, so many of us, people who have been commenting, and people from Soulology, and our friends, people we know, we've all been going through changes with our body, that things we've never experienced or felt. And thank God we're in tune with our bodies enough to know this is not a sickness. This is not an illness. This is not something I need a test for. This is my body alchemizing and you know, coming into balance and growing, right? The earth is changing. We're extension of her. We're changing. It's all everything is. It's a metamorphosis, right?
You know what's ironic
Freak us
though?
out. Yeah, go ahead.
2 weeks ago, I'm being so serious. So I was on my way to work, and I think so too. A lot of people have been blowing a lot of mucus out their nose and stuff like that. Well, that's not just allergies. That's releasing a lot, right? I pulled out
Yeah.
a crystal out my
A
nose.
crystal.
Yeah, it was like a crystallized, mucus thing.
Yeah.
It was all crystal though. It wasn't green.
Yeah. Yeah, we get crystallized things in our gallbladder, in our liver, in our kidneys, in our bladder, in our nose. And actually, it's interesting in Ernestine. I want to tell you something that Ernestine said, but I want to finish this thought first. Uh, clearing. Mucus. So in Chinese medicine, we say phlegm, which phlegm is basically mucus, right? We say phlegm is the cause of 100 strange diseases. So, like back in the day, if there was a disease that was hard to treat or complicated or not well understood, usually at the base of that dis-ease was phlegm. Like phlegm plays a huge role in cancer, for instance. And they also had something like when a person was mentally imbalanced, they would call it phlegm, or do call it phlegm misting the mind. So, and phlegm does, it blocks up it gunks up like our subtle body channels, it gunks up our physical body too, obviously, right? It makes it hard to breathe. You want to get it out of your throat. You want to expel it from your nose. Um, yeah, so clearing that was huge, that crystal. So here's what Ernestine has to say. Izzy, I've never heard you so clear on what you were sharing. Your energy is so much calmer.
Yeah, Kay said that the other day. I think um I think my energy has always been calm, but it's way calmer now. You know what I mean? Cuz
Mhm.
I've always had a very, like my dad, people gravitate towards me, like I'm very healing energy, but there's something different about me now.
Yeah. Well, you do have calm, grounding energy. At the same time, if you are spun out or emotional in the past, before that sort of there was a 2-week period where you kind of grew like 10 years. Um, if you would get like, spun out or overly emotional, this is with any human, right? When we're
Oh
when we're
yeah.
spun out or overly emotional, we are not sounding or looking or feeling very grounded or very calm, right? But you
It took
definitely
a lot
got
to be where I'm at right
overall presence.
now.
What's that?
I said it took a lot to be where I'm at right now.
Yeah, you earned this. You earned this.
So it's strange too. So, what somebody I used to be in a relationship with, he's very awake. We just, don't end up being together, blah, 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 blah. He told me something very like, that stuck with me. Because one of these days I will start doing music, but right now is not. He said, my art and my pain will be all created in music. But he said something too. He said, Izzy, you've suffered so much in your life and you've earned where you are, and you're about to be granted for everything you've ever wanted. Talking about this year. And it's strange, I was thinking about when I was in kindergarten, because I've always just known what's going to happen in my life. It's just really strange. I mean, I won't get so into it right now because there's some things I don't want to say on here.
Is there
But
anything you can tell us from kindergarten that you've always known that you are willing to share?
that's what I was about to say right now. So
Yeah.
I always knew 22 was going to be a really significant year, like of my age. I just always knew that. I don't know why. I knew 22, I'd have the best birthday, which I did. I did. Even though I got sick on my birthday.
Because you ate seafood and threw up. But you
Yeah,
were with your dad and your younger sister.
I
And
remember
Cindy.
my dad said if my dad was like, if you do this at the next dinner, I'm gonna kick your ass. Cause I mean, I was in the restroom for a while. Like it was really
We'll
bad.
spare the audience the details.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So I had the best birthday this year. You know, I was with my family. It was incredible. It was. I was with Cindy Fink. That's literally like my mother as well.
She just came on here and she said, "Hi, girls. Hi, Cindy."
Oh, you see, look. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Yeah, unbelievable of my connection with people. I mean, it's oh yeah, Cindy Fink is an incredible
yeah.
woman. I mean, she is
She's like
amazing.
your
Like,
your surrogate mom, and
oh
Kate
yeah,
Lumley is like
for
your surrogate aunt. And Declan Moon, she's been my friend since, well, her name isn't Declan Moon, it's Angie Moon, but she's on here watching. And we've been friends since we were like 6 and 7. And we've been talking a little bit, not as much on the phone, but we'll send like messages back and forth, you know. And she's 22 all the way. She's like 22 is her number. Yeah, yeah. Hi, Angie. Um,
I feel like for some reason I might be friends with Angie on Facebook.
Oh, that's probably Angie Parker from Sology.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Um, okay. So since September, I'm just trying to give like kind of an overview. So since September, you've been getting kicked out of Houston. You've been getting your ass kicked left, right, and center by
Mm-hmm.
yourself, by the universe, by your ancestors. And it's not really getting your ass kicked. I mean, it can feel like getting your ass kicked, but it's like I guess I would
Me,
call it a coalescence, like where everything comes together.
it felt like a deep spiritual ass beating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Things have fallen apart so that they can come together in a new and different way. And I call that coalescence. It's like everything is coalescing, everything is coming together for you now, right? And then you're going to begin this next stage of your journey. And we haven't even hardly touched on what you've faced and gone through this past 10 months. And it's not been easy, but you stayed the course. You did it. You had some great support. You had some freaking awesome support. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Inter-
from your dad,
and that's
from Cindy, from Kate, from others,
mhm.
and you stayed the course. You did. Oh, here's another thing I think is worth. Oh, Angie's mom's birthday was September 22nd,
So you know what's ironic is Cindy's birthday is the day after the 14th. Hers is the 15th.
and mine is the 14th, August 14th.
And mine's March 14th.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to say, because I've mentioned this in other videos, and I like to keep putting the message out there. Um, um, Suicide has been something I've had to. Oh, Ernestine Day is December 22nd.
Those twos don't play, baby.
Wow. So, yeah, I do mention suicide every once in a while because if you're human, there's probably a moment or a day or a week or a month or some point in your life where you feel like, wow, this human thing is really tough and maybe I just don't want to be here anymore. And that happened with with my mom. And that pattern was in me throughout my adulthood too. Um, until it finally left, and it wasn't even that long ago. Like it would go, for many, many years, and then I'd feel like that again. And I was like, "Oh, I'm here again," where I like just don't want to be here. And it was more ideation. It was never an actual, attempt or whatever. But um, I know that you have felt that way in the past too, but you never made the choice to like do away with yourself. And aren't you glad
Well,
so that you could now go do what you're about to do? Aren't you so glad you never made that choice?
yeah. Well, actually, too, is I can share this. Everything is a reflection, everything's a mirror. So I find it interesting that you bring this up because it was on my mind that I wanted to bring this up about my experiences. I have, um, I have faced suicide for a very long time. I have attempted for my life long times ago. Recently, I it was like it was the last feeling of that, and it was very strong. Julie witnessed this too, and I got through it. It was very scary, but as you know, to be honest with you, talking about this makes me really think that I even dealt with this not even knowing it before my mom passed. I think it's just something very ancestral. It's very dark. Even last night, I was not thinking this, but I was pushing out demonic things because of some Egyptian ancestral shit. Remember, I told you yesterday that I did a breath work and the whole back of my head was just vibrating. It was 6 in and 12 out. And it was weird because Julie was like, well, when you do 12 in and 6 out, it's something something.
It's
But
more
when you do
calming. And then
but the other one was more like yeah,
pushing
yeah.
stuff out. Yeah.
So I can agree. That's why I say everything's a reflection, everything's a mirror, and that's so beautiful. Is what you just said about releasing that last feeling of that and letting it completely go, right? I feel the same way. I do. I do. That's why it was quite interesting how, and I mean, it was happening after Soul Fest. September was really dark month for me. Then December was, and then it kind of got better. And then April was really hard. And then the beginning of May, and that's when it ended. You know, so yeah, I mean, I think that's just what's so beautiful too. Is like we just make it out the shit, and it's so beautiful.
Well, and you're right about it being ancestral. Like, there are patterns that get carried through the ancestral lines, and on my mom's paternal side, there had been a history of mental imbalance and deciding to just end one's life because it was just too much to deal with. And so, yeah, when we don't succumb to the pattern and we transform it, then that goes forward, generations forward, but also generations backward. So we've now transformed um past and future for our bloodlines. Powerful.
I think also too, it's something that Cindy told me was a lot of the things I'm resolving with myself on a physical realm and on a spiritual ancestral is I'm not going to be passing this on to my children.
That's what I'm saying. You're doing it for the future, right? It's like because
Mhm.
you've cleared it. So you've cleared it in both directions, behind you and ahead of you. Yeah, you cleared the pattern. Yeah. Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love your necklace, by the way. So did she make that or she gave it to you?
So Delia, who you met at Soology Fest that you wished you would have spent more time with,
Yeah,
where
I
we
do.
always
Yeah.
sat. Uh so the first Soology Fest at Sedona, she was there, and a woman named Allison and a woman named Anita, and they were like all attached at the hip, and they were walking around, and everybody called them the triplets. and I really took a liking to them, so I started spending some time with them, and I ended up doing this. I asked them if they would like to do a ceremony with me in the teepee, and it was all just spontaneous. You know, I had brought this little mini altar and a wooden cigar box, and I went in there and just did things that I think came from other dimensions and other lifetimes where I had connected with them before, and it was this indescribable experience. And through that, we, reconnected our hearts from, like other dimensions, like uh Delia and I have, we also have like when we were in the teepee, she was telling me, yeah, you've been my aunt, my grandmother, and my sister before, right? And so anyway, we developed a connection through that. And so she got a necklace for each of the triplets for herself, for Anita, for Allison, and then for me. So we all have these.
That's beautiful. Is that a stone?
Yeah, it's onyx. And this is
Mm.
onyx too, and this ring was my grandmother's, but there was a stone in it that was old and kind of damaged. So I at that point in my life I really wanted like black and gold together. So I put this stone in here, and this is like the jeweler that put this stone in here for me. He's like, "Do you know how much this piece of onyx cost?" And I was like, "No, how much?" He's like, $1. So I have this gold ring with a few diamonds on it, but it's got a dollar stone in it. But I don't care because I like the black and gold together.
It's just a number.
What's that?
Really, a hundred's equal. I mean, $1 is equal to 100 or 1,000 million.
So thank you, Ernestine. It is a beautiful gift.
Yeah, it is a beautiful piece.
Um Terry Love, who's Soulology fam, she says, oh, I had a deep I gotta scroll up because somebody else commented. I had a deep suicidal transformational healing last year after many cycles. I went as deep as I could with the intention of healing it. I did it by myself because I knew I had to. Sending love to anyone with this program. Yeah.
Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you. I am gonna just turn my fan on real quick.
Okay.
Give me one second.
Yeah. And there's another member in the audience asking, how do you do it? Generally want to know and understand. If you ever want to get a hold of me and have a conversation about that, we can. You know who you are. All righty. So,
Yeah, same here. I mean, I feel like it's nothing like when people have just gone through it themselves can just say it better, right? And that, it's ironic because you and I are so connected. So I just find it so beautifully bizarre that we both, face that and resolve that around the same time. But I mean, also too, Kevin confirmed we've had what 21 lives together. But
yeah,
I don't know why I feel like it's probably a little bit
more.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, and Kevin always reframes it for me. He reminds me it's not past lives, it's other dimensions. It's dimensional bubbles, right? Because past, present, and future are happening at once. So you and I share 21 dimensional bubbles or more. But yeah, it was a trip getting to know you because we'd be on the phone and sharing and talking, and our overlap was crazy. Not crazy, but there was a lot of it, right? It was like things we'd experienced, stuff we've had to work through, experiences we've had. There's just so much freaking overlap.
There's so many synchronicities between us. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's too
Yeah.
it's too many it's too many to count.
Yeah.
There's just
Even stuff like with our like even stuff with our mom's names, and there's code, and it goes on for days, but we won't.
it's too much, but it's okay.
Yeah,
We
it's too
both
much to
know.
share with the audience, but um alrighty. So okay, so Wednesday is your big day, girl. And what time does your flight leave?
My flight leaves 2:27 p.m. So I'll get there since Arizona, I believe, excuse me, is 2 hours behind.
No, I think it's 1.
It's 1 hour.
Is it? Is Arizona on Pacific time? I don't think so. Is it? Want me to look it up?
You can look it up.
Anyway, sorry. What time do you get there?
So I get there at 3:27, but it's a 3 hour plane ride. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's 2 hours and
Oh, so it's 2. Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah, it is Pacific time. I was wrong. Forgive me. Ernestine cleared it up for us. It is on Pacific time. Oh, so you and I will be on the same. We won't have the 2-hour difference anymore when we're talking on the phone.
yeah.
Nice. Ernestine says thank you. So yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up here, but what I wanted to say is I do want to still talk about the day you go. But I just want to say I feel like we have covered where you've come from, where you're going, what it took to get here, all the things that you've faced, the strength you have because of it, your readiness to go, um, your excitement, and the fact that this is just the first time we're documenting this because we're going to keep this going, right? Like, who knows? We might even have Jesse on here someday.
Oh no, so it's ironic. See, this is how me and Julie are like so connected and it's amazing. Is I had like a premonition that it's very important for me to say my story before I go. And Julie just randomly asked me, Izzy, would you want to be on my show?
Tomorrow. I asked you yesterday.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's just like, it's
No, I know. It's amazing. And you didn't tell me, yeah, after I asked you, you were like, "What?" I was thinking about that.
yeah, I was thinking about that. And I had texted my dad too. I was like, Dad, you should get me on the show. And I don't know why. I was thinking about going on yours and you asked me. And because I really do see me and him, talk together, like be interviewed together, but it's just very important for me to share it before I meet him.
Mhm.
You know?
And also this way you have proof. If you start telling him like, "Oh, I saw your face and I knew your name and I've seen your mom and I know this about you and this about you and this about you," and he's
Oh
like,
yeah, it's a
"Sorry,
whole.
girl, you're crazy," and you're like, "Nope, here, let me show you this little video." Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like when he watches this, he's just gonna laugh and smile. I'll be like, "Wow, this is just crazy." But I want to thank everybody that came in and who's gonna come and watch this. Thank you. It was an honor. So.
Yeah. And for the future, when Jesse sees this, hi, Jesse. Well, I will be in touch with you. Thank you very much for doing this.
For having me.
Thank you for being so open. I know it's impossible for you to be anything other than genuine, but thank you for being genuine and for your generosity, your vulnerability, your openness. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your experience.
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me say my story and helping me say it too, because you're really good at that. You're my yin to my yang.
So, we will bid these guys adieu, which means say goodbye. But I'm gonna press end live stream, but you just stay right there, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
We
everybody.
love you. Thank you so much. And yes, Clay Sue, you're right. The new age is shaping up quite nicely. That's a comment by Susan Bornstein. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Ernestine. Thank you, Catherine Knoll. Thank you, Make a Pathway Louise. Thank you, Cindy Fink. Angie, I already said thank you. I don't want to miss anybody, so I'm scrolling to make sure I did not miss anybody. So, everybody who watched and everybody who will watch on the replay, we love you. Janet Herman, Jonna Kozar. Shout out to everybody. Have a
I
fabulous
love
day. Bye bye.